The universe is a magnificent sight to observe. As we gaze up to the night sky from Earth, we see it light up with stars as far as the eye can see. While we may not see it, new stars are continuously being formed from gas clouds, and leftover material from a star's death can create new stars and other bodies in the night sky, kind of like an intergalactic gas reincarnation system. But what would it look like if our home planet suddenly began morphing into a star? Could humans survive this? If Earth were to become a star, it would be a remarkable and unprecedented event in the history of our planet. But while determining whether or not Earth could turn into a star, we must first understand exactly how stars are created. Stars are formed from huge clouds of gas and dust, called nebulae, which collapse under their own gravity. This contracting mass of gas represents the early stage in the formation of a star, called a protostar. As the protostar continues its collapse, gases such as hydrogen, helium, and dust fuse in its dense core, resulting in an immense release of energy in the form of light and heat, and hence, a star is born. If Earth were to become a star, it would need to undergo a similar process of collapse and fusion. A cocktail of enormous mass, temperature, and pressure would be required to morph our planet into a gas giant, and from this eventually over time turn Earth into a star. For a celestial body such as Earth to become a star, it must have sufficient mass to generate enough pressure and temperature in its core to initiate nuclear fusion. The minimum mass required for this to happen is about 0.08 times the mass of the Sun. Earth, on the other hand, has a mass of only about 0.000003 times that of the Sun, which is far too small to initiate fusion. Scientists therefore generally agree that it's doubtful that Earth can become a star, as our planet would need to add a significant amount of additional mass. Brown dwarfs, in theoretical terms, could turn into stars. One of the nearest brown dwarfs to Earth is around 19 light-years away, and it has approximately 20 times the mass of Jupiter. There are theoretical ways in which Earth could gain enough mass to become a star. One possibility is a collision with another massive object, such as another planet, which could, in theory, transfer enough mass to Earth to initiate fusion. However, the probability of such a collision is extremely low, and even if it were to occur, it would have catastrophic consequences for life on Earth and humans. Another way is through a process called accretion, where Earth slowly gathers matter from space, such as gas and dust, to build up its mass. This is actually how stars and planets form in the first place. However, for Earth to accumulate enough mass to become a star, it would need to accrete matter at an astronomical rate for millions of years. Yet, even if Earth were somehow able to accumulate enough mass to become a star, it would still face other challenges. For one, it would need to sustain intense nuclear fusion in its core, which would require a sustained source of fuel. Stars typically burn hydrogen into helium through a process known as the proton-proton chain, which requires extremely high temperatures and pressures. Earth's composition, however, is not well suited for this process, as it is primarily composed of heavy iron, oxygen, silicon, and other elements that do not readily undergo fusion. Assuming Earth managed to gain enough mass and become a star, it would have a profound impact on life as we know it. In the initial stages of the Earth's transformation, water would slowly evaporate as our planet's surface temperature dramatically increased. We would begin to see mass famines and a reduction in production of grains and fresh water. It's likely that the human population would start to dramatically shrink due to malnutrition and disease. Any remaining life would be forced to adapt, migrate, or perish. As the transformation of Earth into a star continued, the temperature on the surface where we walk, run, and commute to work each day would skyrocket to around 5,500 degrees centigrade, which is similar to that of the Sun. Earth's land would become barren, and it would genuinely be an apocalypse, unlike anything you can truly imagine. Everything on the ground, including buildings, cars, lakes, forests, would begin to burn, rendering our home planet uninhabitable. Earth would also experience dramatic changes in its gravitational field, and the new star's mass could potentially attract other objects in space, possibly leading to the formation of a brand new solar system. We would likely be aware of Earth's slow transformation, enabling us to begin evacuating the entirety of the human race, while moving to the Moon or Mars may be possible. this may not be an entirely viable option, as the heat and radiation coming from the Earth as a star could leave both these celestial bodies uninhabitable. Humans may have to travel further to ensure they are safe from the harmful radiation of the newly formed star. As it stands, there's no need to worry, as it's doubtful that Earth would turn into a star, at least during our lifetime. The Earth has a mass of approximately 5.97 times 10 to the 24 kilograms, and the smallest known star is around 80 times the mass of Jupiter, which is itself more than 300 times the mass of Earth. Earth, therefore, doesn't have enough mass, nor the correct balance of elements and ambient conditions to begin to morph into a gas giant. If it were possible, the consequences for life on Earth would be profound and likely catastrophic, with humans likely having to migrate to another planet in order to survive. As such, it remains an interesting thought, but not one that we're likely to ever see come to fruition. Thankfully.